What's going on, Crimson Nation, College Football Nation? This is Gen716 back here again, and today I want to talk to you guys about what really worries me about the 2020 Alabama football team. Now, of course, Bama has a bowl game coming up, but despite whether they're going to win that game or lose that game, 2020 is going to be a bit of a challenge because Alabama could very well lose around 7 or 8 underclassmen, which are very, very important to the team. They could lose in total of 10 or even more players to the NFL draft. And because this wasn't the greatest season for Alabama, and because we actually might have some more coaching turnover, Nick Saban and Alabama, they're gonna have to try to figure out how we can continue to go forward and potentially go back to the path of pursuing national championships, because this was a down year for Bama. Even though they're 10-2 right now, and they might be 11-2 or maybe even 10-3. Still, I mean, most teams will kill for the record. But of course, for Bama fans, we are spoiled, and the Bama factor, man. We want national championships. So, anyway, I just want to talk to you guys just what really worries me about next year, and yeah, let's hop straight into this thing. So, of course, the first thing, just like I said earlier, it is the underclassmen. We got a lot of underclassmen that are juniors or redshirts, and they're eligible for the draft. Very, very important players, but the problem was that as far as the defensive side of the ball goes, it's going to be a problem if these players leave, because you're losing your leadership, and also because this wasn't the greatest year on the Bama defense. And I think these players, if they do come back, will get better. But if they go off to the NFL, then we're gonna have to go back down that path of, okay, we might have to have a freshman play, we might have to have a sophomore that barely got any experience playing, and it's almost like hitting the reset button on your defense. Now, Alabama's used to this turnover every single year, but all things have to come to an end. Bama has not done the greatest job lately of just developing their talent. Now, don't get me wrong. Do not get me wrong. Nick Saban and the coaching staff that he gets, trust me, Bama's gonna have a lot of players drafted. They're probably gonna have the most players to the NFL, and that's all that matters. But as far as all the other 4 and 5 star players goes, they haven't stepped up to the plate. Now, whether if that's because of them or if that's because of coaching, everyone's going to have an opinion on that. But still, it's going to suck that if most of our underclassmen leave again, these players that are second string players or third string players, they're going to have to step up into the plate. Now, their talent-wise are good enough, but as far as just them developing into the type of player that we want them to be, that is going to be a challenge. So, for perfect example, Xavier McKinney, right? He's arguably, in my opinion, he's the best safety in college football. He's the best. Only not because I'm a Bama fan, but because you can't name a better safety right now that is playing better than Xavier McKinney. He's just an absolute monster. If he goes to the NFL draft, who steps up for Xavier McKinney? Is it going to be DeMarco Hellams? He had limited snaps as a freshman. Is he going to step up? Is it going to be Jordan Battle? Yes, he played a lot as a true freshman, but it's not like we've seen any major improvement or we've seen any signs indicating that, okay, yeah, this is going to be the safety for the future. Now, again, if we can develop him to being that guy, I think he can be a playmaking safety, more like a Vinny Sunseri type of safety. But hey, I mean, that's something that we have to. This was the past. We'd be like, okay, yeah, he's next. He's going to step up. He's going to be a dominant player. But because of how Alabama played defense this year, we now have to question if Jordan Battle, if Xavier McKinney leaves, and if Jordan Battle has to step up for his spot, is he going to be better? Because I don't know how good you can get from McKinney. You also have to look at Jared Maiden's spot, right? Jared Maiden's a senior. He's gone. Who's going to replace him at the star position? You look at Trayvon Diggs, right? He's one of our better corners, and he's projected to be in a first-round pick. But we all know he didn't have the greatest year in the world. If he leaves, who can do better? Who is there anyone who can honestly do better than Trayvon Diggs right now on the depth chart? I just don't know that. So Shaheem Carter at the nickelback position, there wasn't anybody that could dethrone him. When he leaves, who's going to be next up? So you see what I'm saying here? Raekwon Davis, is there anybody going to do better than? I mean, LeBron Ray could potentially be that guy. I think he can be that guy. But then you got to look at Anthony Jennings leaving. You got to look at Terrell Lewis leaving. You know, so when you look at the players and you look at how we did this year, you might have to, you know, if you're a fan, I could understand if you're questioning, you know, are we developing these players like we used to? Are we, you know, is the Bama factor applying not only to the players, but is it applying to the coaches? Because we always talk about the players that it applies, that the Bama factor applies to the players. No, it applies to the training staff. It applies to the coaches, and these coaches are brand new. All of the assistant coaches are brand new. From Brian Baker to I think Selson Sari's been here for a little bit, but from Kyle Flood to Steve Sarkisian to Holliban Wiggins. I mean, most of these coaches are brand new, and maybe they don't understand the Bama factor. So as far as just developing these 4- and 5-star prospects, that might be harder than what we've done in the past because we've always had some of the best coaches. But yeah, underclassmen, that's the underclassmen leaving. It would suck if they leave, right? It would suck if Jedrick Willis, if Alex Leatherwood, if Xavier McKinney, and all three of our receivers, not one receiver comes back. I think it really, really hurts Bama next year of once again, you're going to have to reload, right? You think of what LSU has. This is the most returning group that LSU has had since 2011. 2011, they went to the national championship game. They beat Bama, right? So you see what happens when you have that unit come together that has experience. It benefits them. Look at Clemson. Their entire defensive line came back. That which is, you know, some people say that's the best defensive line of all time. They all could have went to the draft a year prior, but they decided to come back because they felt like they wanted to win a national championship, and number two, because they knew if they all left, it would hurt their program. It wouldn't benefit their program. And I understand. I'm not saying the underclassmen shouldn't go to the NFL draft, but it really hurts the team and its future when the majority of your leadership leaves every single year. Another problem is the coaching turnover. It's gonna happen this year. Whether if it's going to be Pete Golding, if Nick Saban forces Pete Golding to leave, if maybe he sees that the defensive staff is not doing a good job developing the players, he could force some of these guys to leave, or they could very well get job offers because Alabama is that place for coaches if you want to get another job somewhere else. So maybe these coaches get they get a job somewhere else where Nick Saban is not barking at them. So the coaching turnover is also a huge factor into all of this. And that's going to suck because it's going to hurt recruiting, right? Most of these guys are recruiters. It's going to suck when these guys leave and it affects the recruiting, but it also affects the development of our players. And that means that Nick Saban's going to have to go, he's going to have to look at free agency or whatever it's called, and he's going to have to look for coaches. He's going to have to look for these coaches again. And we have seen that all this coaching turnover is affecting our program. So that's another thing that worries me right now is the coaching turnover. And, man. I mean, some of it is good. I mean, like I said, if we get rid of, I'm sorry, but if Jeff Banks leaves, if our special teams coordinator leaves, he's a great recruiter. But Jesus, we got to fix the kicking game. If he leaves and we can get a special teams coach that's a kicking expert, that's going to be beneficial for our program. I know people want Pete Golding gone, but Pete Golding is an excellent recruiter. He is a linebackers coach. He is young, and again, he really didn't have his linebackers, which on this defense, this is the play callers. He had nothing but true freshmen clown up the defense. So if Nick Saban forces Pete Golding off the door, and you're gonna have to find another defensive coordinator that fits him, it could very well affect recruiting. I mean, we saw that Henry To'oTo'o, he went to Tennessee, but if Tosh Lupoi would have stayed, Henry would have been here, right? It just affects recruiting. So anyway, guys, that's all I got. That's what really worries me is the coaching turnover and just our players leaving early for the draft every single year. I mean, it understands it happens, and you really can't blame the players for leaving. The coach is leaving either. Sometimes you got to just, you got an opportunity elsewhere. Sometimes you just got to take it. But it really affects the program, and especially because Alabama has a down year. I really want to see as much leadership as possible come back next year. And two, I wouldn't want to leave on a sour start. That's just me. I don't want to leave on a sour start early. I would want to come back and try to prove that our team can still compete for national championships. But anyway, guys, that's all I got. If you guys enjoyed the video, I would appreciate it if you guys hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, share the video. Really helps out the channel a lot. If you guys want to follow me on social media, the link is below the description for both my Twitter and my Instagram. And that's all I have. So anyway, guys, this is Jess716. I'll catch you guys later. Peace.